Hello, guys. Welcome back. I just went over 1.04, so now we're going to go over 1.05. Again, I'm not going to show you how to get to the class homepage. I've shown that several times, so I'm not going to show that. But I will show you that your class announcements, this is where to look. Not in the planner, please. On this page. Please scroll down to this week, and you'll see that yesterday on Monday, you should have done 1.04. Today, you should be starting on 1.05 and reading Mary Cassatt, Artist and Trailblazer. And you're comparing and contrasting two paintings tomorrow. Or you can do it all in one day. I'm going to do this all in one video, so I'm not breaking it up. It's all in one video. All right, let's get. Also, I want to bring your attention. Please read the class newsletter. I update it every Sunday evening and I mail it out to you, but you can always find it on the announcements board and scroll through. And you can see I've already kind of started updating it for this week, but I haven't got it ready yet. All right, back up to the top. Be sure that every Monday you are checking your grades to see if you have any zeros. Get those assignments done ASAP. But you should have already done 101, the Child of Urbino, 1.02, that was Raphael, 1.03, which was Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. The 1.04 was your first writer's one about writing a letter. And then now we're starting 1.05. So let's get started. Just get to your lessons. You go up here to content. Sorry, nose is itchy today. All right. We finished up 1.04. I'm going to scroll down over here. We did both learns. And now we're going to be doing 1.05 unique beauty. And doesn't seem too terribly long. We always start here at the top. Always, always, always. Unique beauty. Think about what you spend most of your day doing. Do you think this is the material for a great painting? As you continue, you will meet a painter who loves to paint scenes from everyday life. This painting here is called Detail of Portrait of Mary Cassatt by fellow impressionist Edgar Degas. And we see that there's two, so we can go to the second slide. And again, that's where you're going to find your student guide. Always, always, always download that student guide. It gives you your lesson objectives. So we're going to be recognizing devices using an author to achieve the purpose, including language, organization, and/or structure. We're going to identify character traits and motivations. We're going to make inferences and draw conclusions from the text and form opinions and personal responses after reading. All right, I'm going to go ahead and download these materials because I like to know what I'm going to be learning. That's just how I like to do it. All right, in order to type on this, I'm going to need to click this enable editing. I'm gonna go ahead and put my name on here. And you can put the date as well if you want. All right, reading graphic organizer. So every time you read, you're gonna have this graphic organizer to fill out. So before we read, we're gonna answer what type of text is it? Is it a memoir, a narrative, autobiography, expository, informational, technical, blah, blah, blah. How do you know what type of text this is? What features does it have that tell you what the text type is? And make predictions based on the headings, titles, images, and the organization of the text. While we're reading, we're going to make predictions and check those predictions and make more as needed. What is the author's purpose for writing? What is his or her goal? Why did they write it? You're also going to ask, how is the text arranged? What information is presented at the beginning, middle, and end of the text? Why do you think the author chose this arrangement? After reading, you're going to check for the accuracy of your predictions. Did you confirm them or need to revise them? What is the main idea of the text? One piece of information that supports the main idea. Another piece that supports the main idea. And give an example of a fact, an example of an opinion, and what is the author's tone or attitude in this text. Okay, and I'm just going to minimize that. And then we have another observation sheet. So download that. It downloads right down here in the bottom. And we're going to open it. And again, in order to type on it, we need to click Enable Editing. Again, I'm going to put my name. And over here by the date, just put whatever date it is. 1 dash, today's the 23rd is when I'm doing it. 21. Okay. Take notes to record your observations. So whatever artist or musician we're observing, what character traits did we notice from the text, motivations, contributions to art or music, and your opinions or response. Okay. All right, so we've got those. We do have some key words. We have Claude Monet. I know it has an ET, but he's French. That's how you. Monet. Edgar Degas. Again, that S is French. They don't pronounce it. There's a lot of letters the French don't pronounce. Degas. Mary Cassatt. Mary Cassatt. Paris Auguste Renoir. Paris Auguste Renoir. All right. I know this because I love art as well. I love literature and art. What can I say? All right. And then we can move on. So we have 2 of 2. So I'm going to click up here, the forward button, and we're going to move on. Unique beauty, the Impressionists. Oh, I love Impressionistic paintings. So that's why I know how to pronounce the name. You will soon read about an American painter who was a member of the Impressionist movement, a style of painting that developed in France in the late 19th century. Up until that time, artists painted in a formal style. They used dark colors to paint landscapes or portraits. The subject of a portrait was usually posed or centered on the canvas. The Impressionists experimented with new subject matter, new colors, and new painting techniques. Instead of formal portraits, they painted people in real-life situations. Instead of painting a woman wearing a black dress sitting on a chair facing the painter, for example, the Impressionists might paint a woman pinning a blue dress to pinning a blue dress to a clothesline. This was unique because the painting depicted a woman in an everyday activity, rather than in a formal setting. The Impressionists seldom painted in blacks and browns and grays. Instead, they chose colors from nature and life, colors that might exist in a garden on a sunny day. A lot of pastels. This is a detail of the artist's garden at Giverny by Claude Monet. Again, the Impressionists, their paintings look kind of fuzzy. Like, you know, when you let your eyes kind of relax and it gets blurry. That's kind of like the Impressionistic paintings, but very pretty. All right, we have 2, so we're going to go to the second slide now. Impact of Impressionists. The goal of an Impressionist painter was not to make a photographic representation of a subject, but to capture the impression of a particular moment in time. To do this, many painters dabbed brushstrokes and colors to show where light hit the subject matter. Sometimes these painters, among them were Monet, would paint the same subject at different times of the day, showing how different an impression can be depending on light and weather. The Impressionists brought a bit of controversy. Controversy means one topic which was always caused controversy is of whether or not students in public schools should wear uniforms. Most people come down strongly on one side of this issue, but no one can agree. So controversy is where you have many people differ on their opinion, and they usually hold strong opinions about that topic. As a result of the Impressionist movement, painting styles permanently changed. Later, artists continued to experiment with subject matter, color, and style. Some of the most well-known Impressionist painters were Claude Monet. Oh, it just tells you how to say his name. Edgar Degas and Pierre-Auguste Renoir. You'll examine one other important figure from this movement, Mary Cassatt. I was just going to say it. I'm going to say her name.
Mary Cassatt.
Oh, Mary Cassatt. Okay. I've heard it pronounced the other way. All right. Well, we'll go with Cassatt. Cassatt. Okay. Moving on. Next one. Mary Cassatt. One of the more interesting Impressionists is Mary Cassatt. Not only was she the only American among the group of French artists, but she was an independent woman in a time when it was uncommon for a woman to be an artist or to venture out on her own. Now read Mary Cassatt, Artist and Trailblazer by Vanessa Wright. It is found in Literature for Young Readers, Volume 6. Use these reading graphic organizers to apply reading strategies. So here again is that graphic organizer. We also have it downloaded down here. I'm going to go ahead and have it pulled to my second screen so that I can quickly pull it over as needed, along with the other one that I downloaded as well. So we can go back and forth. And that graphic organizer dot, that's the opposite, right? Okay, so we're doing the box one that has boxes. Okay. Oh, and to get there, you click here. And it's going to take you, again, to your main page. You've got to remember that we're in the unit Influential People. And here is our story. So we're going to click on it. It can be found on page 310. Let me jot that down. Page 310. All right. Mary Cassatt, Artist and Trailblazer by Vanessa Wright. One day in Paris in 1851. Okay, before we need to fill this out before we read. Okay, so before you read, just looking at the title, what type of text is this? Do you think it is a memoir, a narrative, an autobiography, a biography? What do you think? I'm going to go ahead and tell you it is probably going to be a biography. At least that's what I'm going to guess. It's not an autobiography because Mary Cassatt is not writing it. It was written by someone else. We'll see as we read. It could be a historical fiction. Predictions based on the headings and titles. What do you think this is going to be about? Well, obviously it's going to be about Mary Cassatt. I think from our introduction, it's going to be about impressionistic painters. Art. I'll just put those three for right now. If you have other ideas, put those, please. And we'll look. We'll come back to it as we find more. Okay. Mary Cassatt, Artist and Trailblazer by Vanessa Wright. One day in Paris in 1851, a 7-year-old American girl named Mary Cassatt went with her family to visit the Louvre. Again, this is in French. A lot of letters are left out. It's one of the world's greatest art museums. The little girl gazed up in wonder at paintings of the old masters, such as Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa, Titan's mythical scenes, and Rembrandt's shadowy, brooding landscapes. And again, if you need to know what brooding means, it means gloomy. Someday, she said to herself, I will be as great an artist as they. A few years later, young Mary Cassatt returned with her family to America, with the images she had seen in Paris still aglow in her mind. She wanted more than ever to become a professional artist. In fact, she said to a friend, I'm going to paint better than the old masters. As soon as she was old enough, Cassatt entered the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. She took drawing classes, but was disappointed because the Academy's art collection had very few great paintings for her to study. At that time, not even the best American museums had collections that could compare with the great paintings hanging in the Louvre. Cassatt remembered watching art students in Paris learn to paint by copying the great works in the Louvre. If I want to be a serious painter, she thought, it seems I must return to Europe. Okay, I'm going to move my picture over here so we can press the next button. Cassatt's goal was unclear, but there were many obstacles in her path. The year was 1865. Women did not have the right to vote. They were not allowed to attend the best art schools. In general, women were not expected or encouraged to become artists. And they were definitely not supposed to travel abroad alone. Abroad means outside one's home country. So when Cassatt told her father that she wished to study in Europe and become a professional artist, he strongly opposed her wishes. And if you don't know what oppose means, it's disagree. He did not want her to go off on her own. But Cassatt persisted, continued with determination. So she was determined. She discussed, explained, and argued with her father until he changed his mind. Rather than resist her, he decided to support her artistic ambitions. And ambitions means goals or strong desires to achieve something. And so in 1866, when Cassatt was 22 years old, she moved back to Paris ready to fulfill her dreams. In Paris, Cassatt studied with several artists. She carefully copied paintings in the Louvre. She also packed up her brushes, rode out to the countryside, and painted the people in landscapes that caught her fancy. Many people admired Cassatt's paintings of the French countryside. Her teachers admired them so much that they encouraged her to try to get them displayed in a great annual art exhibition called the Salon. At the Salon, some paintings were awarded ribbons or medals, but almost all artists whose work was chosen for the Salon would become successful. And on the other side, it was almost impossible to succeed as a painter without exhibiting at the Salon. It was not easy to get a painting picked for exhibition in the Salon. The jury that judged the paintings only liked certain kinds of art. They chose paintings that resembled the work of the old masters, dark and serious, with smooth, blended colors. They wanted the subjects to be from history, mythology, or literature, arranged in formal poses and painted to look perfect instead of like real people. They did not welcome originality. The jury rejected the first painting Cassatt submitted for the Salon, but the next year they accepted a painting, very much in the style of the old masters, showing a peasant woman sitting and holding a mandolin. While it was a great honor to be chosen, Cassatt soon grew restless. She preferred to paint with bright colors and loose strokes. She liked painting ordinary people doing ordinary things. She was developing her own style, but it was not a style that the Salon jury liked. What should I do? She wondered. Should I paint to please the jurors of the Salon, or should I paint my own way? One day, as Cassatt walked past the gallery window, she saw a pastel drawing by a boldly original French artist, Edgar Degas. She stopped in front of the window and stared at it. She could not tear herself away. The next day, she returned to look at Degas' work, and the next, and the next. I used to go and flatten my nose against that window and absorb all I could of his art. She wrote to a friend, "It changed my life. I saw art then as I wanted to see it." Sometime later, Degas saw one of Cassatt's portraits. He noticed that while she painted with the skill and grace of the old master, she also mixed in some ideas and techniques, methods or ways of doing something, of newer artists. In her work, she recognized a kindred spirit, and that means someone who shares similar beliefs and values. It is said that after he looked at her painting, he cried to his friend, "There is someone who feels as I do." All right, let's take a moment and let's go back to our graphic organizer. So is this a biography? Yeah, pretty much. She's not really adding things in that are fictional. So it is, let's see, I'll put the author is writing facts about cassette. For example, and then you can copy and paste something in there literally from the text. So let's look at one fact that she put in there. Really, this whole paragraph right there. So I'm just going to copy and then move this over here. And I'm going to put a comma because I'm putting a direct quote from the story in there. Control V. And then another to show that we quoted the text. All right, and then maybe find another couple of them. Were our predictions correct? So let's see, while we're reading, check your predictions. Were they correct? Is the story about Mary Cassatt? Is it about impressionistic painters? Yeah, because we're talking about Degas right now. And it is about art. So yes, yes, and oh, yes, and yes. So far. What is the author's purpose for writing? What do you think this author is trying to do by writing this? I'm going to say something along the lines, inform people about how and why Mary Cassatt became a famous impressionistic painter. Cannot talk today. All right, question. How is the text arranged? Okay, it seems to be going, well, what do y'all think? Pause, give your ideas, your thoughts, then come back and see if you're right. I'm going to put chronological. It starts with Mary as a young girl and how she fell in love with art, and then talks about her moving to Paris to paint as a young woman and being discovered by Edgar Degas. No, that's good enough for right now. And then we'll do the rest of it after reading. Okay. Move back. Okay, we finished this one and we're moving on to the next page. Edgar Degas was one of the first artists known as the Impressionists, a group that also included Claude Monet and Auguste Renoir. The Impressionists were a group of experimental, trying new things, artists who tried to capture on canvas a brief but true impression of people, places, or objects. They abandoned the old master's dark colors and smooth brushstrokes. Instead, they used bright, lively colors and bold lines and brushstrokes. Instead of painting people in stiff, formal poses, they captured people in fleeting moments of everyday life. Fleeting is passing quickly. Degas, for example, painted ballet dancers in rehearsal or laundresses at work. Laundresses were women who did other people's laundry for pay. Degas saw hints of impressionism in Cassatt's paintings. So he hurried to her studio and invited her to exhibit with his group instead of with the Salon. For Cassatt, that meant giving up the success guaranteed by exhibiting with the Salon, but she accepted the offer. Later, she wrote to her friend, "At last, I could work with complete independence without concerning myself with the eventual judgment of a jury. I hated conventional art. I began to live." And conventional just means ordinary, following the accepted rules or practices. A year after she met Degas, Cassatt painted a little girl in a blue armchair. In the painting, a little girl sits sprawled in a big comfy chair with one hand casually reaching behind her head. And sprawled is just like spread out. The little girl does not look out from the painting. Her expression seems a little bored, as though she just collapsed into the chair and heaved a big sigh while wishing she had something else to do. The designs on the blue chair were rendered with, and rendered means made, with swift brushstrokes. Certainly, the salon jury would not have approved of this painting. As Cassatt, and here's a picture of it, and oh, I wish it was in color. Why did they not put this in color? Okay, I'm going to have to find it and show it to you just a little bit. As Cassatt experimented with the Impressionist technique, she began to develop her own individual style. For her subjects, she did not choose the usual landscapes or cityscapes. Instead, she often painted women going about their daily tasks, or mothers and their children sharing tender, trusting moments. Although Cassatt herself never had children, perhaps no artist has better captured the bond between mother and child. Cassatt continued to try new techniques. After attending an exhibition of Japanese woodblock prints, she experimented with making her own prints and engravings. Her friend Degas was greatly impressed and thought her prints to be some of her best work. Let me see if I can find this. Little girl in a blue armchair. By Mary Cassatt. And there it is right there. So see how pretty it is, the bright blues, not the dark, boring colors that the masters use. She's got her little puppy dog over here. Oh, so cute. Oh, where am I at? There I am. All right, next page. Although Cassatt spent most of her life in Paris, she returned sometimes to the United States. She advised wealthy Americans who wished to buy and exhibit great European art, both the old masters as well as the best of the new paintings. More than any other person, Mary Cassatt helped introduce Americans to the work of the Impressionists. Some of the pieces Cassatt helped purchase still hang in American museums today. Mary Cassatt was a trailblazer. Though women in her time had little freedom and few choices, she achieved her ambition to become a professional artist. She developed a style all her own and chose the subjects that suited her, regardless of official opinions. She was the only American to exhibit with the Impressionists and help bridge the art gap between Europe and the United States. I have not done all I wanted to, she wrote before her death, but I tried to make a good fight. And there's a picture of her from 1914, towards the end of her life, obviously. And a trailblazer is one who does something new, who opens a new path for others to follow. And that, I believe, is the end. All right, so now we're going to go back to our learn because we've read the story. Oh, but first we need to do our post reading. Check the accuracy of your predictions. Did you confirm them or do you need to revise them? Nope, they were correct. What is the main idea of the text? What do y'all think? What is the main idea? What is this text about? I'm going to put how Mary Cassatt became a great female impressionistic painter. One piece of information that supports the main idea. So we can go back in there and copy and paste. So here, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move this over here. Let me go back to the literature thing. One thing that tells us that she did this is Let me go back. Let me go back one more. I think what I wanted to put was the name. Okay. I'm not going to put all that. Let's see. Okay, I'm just going to put that. Copy. And then I'm pasting it over here because we know that that is a well-known painting. And I'm going to type that. Is a famous painting. And let me put it over here so you can see. There's where I typed it. And then you can find another piece. And I'll go over here for that one. All right, here we know that Degas, who is also a impressionist, thought a lot of her. So I'm going to put that in there. That shows that she became a great painter. So copy and paste that in there. An example of a fact. So now let's find a fact. Cassatt never had children. There we go. There's a fact. Copy and paste it in there. An example of an opinion. Ooh. Well, again, we could use this as an opinion, but let's see if we can find another opinion. This could be considered an opinion. Some people may think she was a trailblazer, some may not. That is an opinion. We'll go down here, put that in there. What is the author's tone and attitude? It seems like the author likes Mary Cassatt. Cassatt. Okay, and that's all there is to it. There you go. You've got this, and now you have this saved, and you can use it on your 1.06 quiz. Okay, so I'm going to minimize that. And let's see what we're supposed to do next. All right, we've read it, ready to move on. All right, we have our quiz. All right, here is where it's important to go and open up a Word document. So I'm going to open up that Word document. New. And we're going to title this 1.05 review. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and put number 1 here. And so now you're just going to see me copy and paste this first question. Right click, copy. Control V. There's that question. All right, let's see what we think the correct answer is to this. In fact, she said to a friend, I am going to paint better than the old masters, Cassatt said. These words as a young person. This sentence is an example of Cassatt's A, love for everyday subject matter. B, arrogance. C, interest and impressionism. Or D, determination. Maybe it sounds kind of arrogant. Oh, I got it wrong. Shucks. I'm going to say determination. Oh, try again. Got to hit try again first, then determination. Check. Yes. So now that we know that that is the correct answer, we're going to copy and bring back my Word document and put answer and Control V there. And now I'm ready for number 2. Go to the next question. And I'm not going to put the answers on all of these, just that first one for you. But do copy and paste the question. I would do it even before you read it so that you remember. Answer. Which of the following would Cassatt probably not have painted? A woman hanging laundry on a clothesline. B, a woman hanging laundry on a clothesline. C, a man being crowned king. Or D, a woman giving a child a bath. Which one would she not have painted? Okay. When you have that answer, click on it. When you check it and see that it is the correct answer, copy and paste that to your document. The author most likely includes the first paragraph of the story to, all right, so let's look back at that first paragraph. I believe it started on 310 or 311. Okay, the first paragraph says, one day in Paris in 1851, a 7-year-old American girl named Mary Cassatt went with her family to visit the Louvre, one of the world's greatest museums. The little girl gazed up in wonder at paintings of the old masters, such as Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa, Titan's mythical scenes, and Rembrandt's shadowy, brooding landscapes. So, what was her purpose for including that? Give important information about Paris. Give a sense of the child Cassatt's early desire and drive to become an artist. C, suggests that Mary Cassatt's parents knew she would become a great artist. Or D, convey that Cassatt thought the great masters were not very good artists. Tell me what you think. Check your answer. Once you have the correct one, be sure and copy and paste that into your review document. Next question, copy and paste the question in your review document. At last, I could work with complete independence without concerning myself with the eventual judgment of a jury. I hated conventional art. I began to live. What does this statement tell you about Mary Cassatt's character? A, Cassatt had begun to hate the old masters and their paintings. B, Cassatt did not care if anyone saw her paintings. C, Cassatt discovered the kind of painting she wanted to do. Or D, Cassatt was confident that she would be accepted at the salon someday. Once you know the correct answer and you checked it, it's correct, copy and paste it into your review document. All right, copy and paste this to your review document. All right, Mary Cassatt overcame many obstacles to become the artist she wanted to be. Which of the following were some of her obstacles? Select all that apply so there could be more than one answer. Once you have figured out if it's 1, 2, 3, copy and paste that to your answer document. And we have gender, family members, traditional ideas about painting, and the Impressionists. All right, once you're finished with all of those, we don't have any more slides down here, so we're ready to move on to the next lesson module. Oh, let me move myself. Now it's in color. You learned from the story that the little girl in the painting, a little girl in a blue armchair, doesn't look out from the painting the way characters from portraits of the old masters did. Instead, she slumps in a chair looking like she needs something to do. So a lot of times previously, like the Mona Lisa, she's posed and she's looking at the painter. This girl, she's just looking off, you know, not a care in the world, maybe a little bored. What difference can you think of between this painting and portraits painted by the old master? Kind of give you a little preview there. So do some thinking. And the answer is the little girl in the painting is not posed. Oh, I can't move it. I wanted to move it. But instead appears in a natural, casual position. The subject of the painting, the little girl, is not centered in the middle of the painting. She's kind of asymmetrical, off to the side. The subject of the painting is a little girl in an everyday setting, rather than a famous or important individual in a fancy location. All right, we have 4 slides here, so I'm moving on to the second slide. Cassatt style. Examine a little girl in a blue armchair and mother and child. Then think about what you have read about Impressionist painting as you compare and contrast these 2 Cassatt paintings. List some adjectives to describe the feeling or mood you think Cassatt creates in each painting. So in class, we're talking about moods and feelings that literature can give you. Well, paintings do the same thing. So how does this, the colors and the texture of this painting and what's the content of the painting, how does that make you feel as opposed to this one, mother and child? Some examples: a little girl in blue armchair looks bored, restless, grumpy, maybe fussy even. Mother and child is a gentle, quiet, intimate, tender, and trusting moment captured. Why do you think the Salon did not approve of these paintings? Remember from our story. Why would they not like these paintings? How were they different from what the old masters painted? A little girl in a blue armchair. The topic is not formal or dark or historical. Not a famous person. Remember, the old masters are posed. That girl is certainly not posed. Mother and child. The subject is too intimate. The colors are very light and soft. Remember, the old masters kind of use the dark. Let's think of the Mona Lisa. She's wearing brown. The background's kind of dark. Not bright and happy and cheery. Raphael versus Cassatt. As you examine Cassatt's Impressionistic painting beside a classical Raphael painting, how do they compare? How does each convey meaning? So here is Raphael's painting of one of his Madonna and Child, or it's Madonna del Graducia by Raphael, and then this painting of Mother and Child by Cassatt. And you have to go back and forth a little bit because I can't get them all to fit in the both, but kind of compare and contrast these. And you can use your Venn diagram. I love Venn diagrams for compare and contrasting. What do you know? Now that you have a chance to review an Impressionistic painting alongside a classic Renaissance painting, you're ready to find out how your knowledge stacks up. Okay, again, copy and paste into your review document anytime you see questions like this. Which adjectives best describe? Now remember, an adjective describes a noun. Describes Raphael's painting and his classic style. Colorful, natural, and loose. Colorful, posed, and loose. Colorful, posed, and smooth. Or dark, posed, and smooth. And again, if you need to go back and look at the painting, here's Raphael's painting. How would you describe that? Put your answer, check it and see if you're right. When you have the right answer, copy that correct answer and paste it into your review document. Which adjective best describes Cassatt's painting and its Impressionist style? All right, so now we're doing Cassatt. Colorful, natural, and loose. Colorful, posed, and loose. Colorful, posed, and smooth. Or dark, posed, and smooth. All right, and then you can go, again, if you need to go back and look at Cassatt's painting of Mother and Child, then do so. And just click back over to get to the correct question. Answer the question. Be sure and copy and paste your question. And when you know the correct answer, into your review document. Which of the following is not true about both artists? A, and be sure and copy and paste that into your review document, the question, which the following is not true about the artist. A, they often paint people. B, they are considered to be excellent artists. C, they did not look to other artists for inspiration. Or D, they express family relationships and emotions in their work. Put the answer you think. Once you find the correct answer, be sure and copy and paste it into your review document. Once you're done with that, there's no more slides down here. So we're going to go up here and click to go on to Module 5. Fill out the observation sheet for Mary Cassatt based on what you've learned about her through the text and her artwork. Remember to use details and specific examples to illustrate your points. In addition, keep your observation sheet to use on your module exam. To begin, download the observation sheet. This was this one right here that had more of an open question. So we are doing Mary. That character traits. Well, we know that she was determined. So that in the first paragraph. She was an artist. She liked coming up with new ways to paint. She liked for her subjects to be female and in everyday activities. Okay, that's all the few. There's tons and tons more, but that's all I'm putting for now. You come up with the rest. Motivations. What is the author's motivation? Again, I think it's to inform. Inform the reader about Mary Cassatt and how she became a famous impressionistic painter and spread the knowledge of impressionism. I think that's two S's again. Yeah, no, yeah, it was. To America. She was one of the only female artists at the time. So she was kind of groundbreaking in that way. All right, contributions. Okay, I'm gonna leave this blank. Go back and look at the story, find a few of her pieces. It talks specifically about 2, maybe 3 of them. So find those and put those in there. And again, you can go back to your story by going here and going wherever you need to in the page to find it. Let me go back to my thing here. And what is your opinion? What do you think? What is your response? I'm not putting that there. That's for you to fill out. What was your response? Did you enjoy this? Do you not care anything about art? Do you really like it? Do you like Impressionism, or do you prefer the old masters? Like Raphael. Yeah, do you prefer Raphael's painting, or do you prefer Cassatt's painting? Or do you like both? All right, moving forward. After you finish that one, move on to Module 6, Comparison of Adjective and Adverbs. You have been learning about art and the emotions it can create. Just as art can depict emotion with different levels of intensity, you can use adjectives and adverbs with different degrees of intensity. Adjective and adverb forms that vary in intensity are called comparatives and superlatives. How do you measure the intensity of an adjective or an adverb? Think of your answer. The intensity of an adjective or adverb is measured by its degree, which is just a fancy way of noting how many things, people, places, things, actions it compares. Number 2, what are the degrees of adjectives and adverbs? Answer, there are 3 degrees of adjectives and adverbs: positive, comparative, or superlative. What is an example of each degree. Can you come up with an example? Positive, Kaylee runs frequently. Note that the verb frequently describes the verb run, but does not compare it to any other verbs or nouns. It tells how often she does. Comparative, Kaylee runs more frequently than Lisa. See, we have that than, that's a comparative word right there. And more a lot of times is considered comparative as well. Here, the verb form more frequently compares two adjectives. Kaylee's running with Lisa with Lisa's running. Superlative, of all the girls, Kaylee runs the most frequently, in this case, most here. The adverb most frequently compares more than two actions, the running of Kaylee and the running of several other girls. Right, we have another slide, so let's go over there. Two or more than two. Two or more than two. Can you tell the difference between comparatives and superlatives? Let's give it a try. Decide if the following word is a comparative or superlative. All right, again, you can put this in your review document. Copy. Easier. Is easier comparing two or more than two? If it's comparing two, it's going to be comparative. If it's more than two, it's going to be superlative. I'm going to go with comparative. Let's check and see. Oh, I got it right this time. Yay. So then copy the correct answer and put it in your review document. All right, harder. Is harder comparing two things or more than two things? I'm not going to tell you. But copy and paste it into your review document. Better. Is better comparing two things, comparative, or more than two things, superlative? Not going to tell you, but copy and paste better and the correct answer into your review document. More quickly. Is more quickly comparing two things or comparative, or more than two things, superlative? Copy and paste when you know the correct answer. More difficult. Is more difficult comparing two things, comparative, or more than two things, superlative? Don't forget to copy and paste into your review document. Easiest. Is easiest comparing two things or more than two things, superlative? Be sure and copy and paste the word and the correct answer in your review document. Hardest. Is hardest comparing two things, comparative, or more than two things, superlative? Once you have the correct answer, be sure to copy and paste the word and the answer into your review document. Best. Is best comparing two things, comparative, or more than two things, superlative? Be sure and copy and paste in your review document. Most quickly. Is most quickly comparing two things, comparative, or more than two things, superlative? Don't forget to copy and paste in your review document. Most difficult. Is most difficult comparing two things, comparative, or more than two things, superlative? Copy and paste. And now we're moving on to slide 3. Forming comparatives and superlatives. You know how many things are comparative and superlatives compare. Now you'll need to master a few basic rules so you can use the adjectives and adverbs with confidence. Rule number 1. If the adverb or adjective is only one syllable word, form the comparative by adding ER or the superlative by adding EST. Here's an example. Start with one syllable, wet. Our word is wet. If you wanted to form a comparative where it's comparing two things, then add ER. So the shirt was wetter than his. Her t-shirt was wetter than his. Now notice wet is a 3-syllable word. It's a consonant vowel consonant blend. When you have a CVC word like this, consonant vowel consonant, CVC, when adding the ER, you need to double the final C. See, we have 2 T's now before we add that ER. So remember that rule. If you want to form the superlative, you would add est to the end of the word. Out of everyone in the water balloon fight, her t-shirt was the wettest. Again, that CVC rule applies. Consonant, vowel, consonant. Double the final consonant, the final C, before adding the est. All right, number 2, if the adverb or adjective is a 2-syllable word, form the comparative by adding er or the word more. You can also form the superlative by adding est or the word most. Let's look at an example. So we're going to start with the 2-syllable word smoothly. To form the comparative, you would add the word more before the adverb. In this sentence, he dances more smoothly than his partner, because we wouldn't say smoothlier or smoothliest. That's not a word. So we're going to add the helping verb more smoothly. Or in the superlative, you would add the word most. He danced, out of all of the dancers, he dances most smoothly. Okay. Rule number 3, if the adverb or adjective has 3 or more syllables, form the comparative by adding the word more, and form the superlative by adding the word most. So let's look at an example. We're going to start with the 3-syllable word delicious. To form the comparative, we're going to say more delicious. We thought the soup was more delicious than the sandwiches. To form the superlative, you're going to add the word most. So most delicious. Of all the food that was served, we thought the soup was most delicious. All right, slide 4. When forming either the comparative or superlative form of the adjective or adverb, you should use only one method. Using both creates a double comparison. Check out this example. Everyone knows that this restaurant is more better than the restaurant. Have you ever heard somebody say that's more better? Totally grammatically incorrect. How would you fix this sentence? Let's see. I hope you came up with the right idea. You can only use one method to create a comparison. To fix the sentence, you need to pick one, either more or er, and remove the other. Okay, so one way to fix the sentence would be everyone knows that this restaurant is better than the restaurant. So there. Or everyone knows that this restaurant is more delicious than that restaurant. Because deliciouser is not a word. More delicious. So you would just take out this more. That would be the simplest way. Take out the more. Not needed there. To avoid making double comparisons, use either er or more most. You don't use er, yeah, more in er or most in est. Choose one or the other. Slide 5. Exceptions to the rule. Have you ever heard the expression rules are meant to be broken? Well, that's certainly the case with comparatives and superlatives. Now that you know the rules of how to form these adjectives and adverbs, there's one more thing you need to know. What do we call adjectives and adverbs that do not follow the rules for forming the comparative and superlative? Do you know? They're referred to as irregulars. Which irregulars are most common? Let's look at some. The most common irregulars are bad, little, and good. And the adverbs well, much, and many. Let's look at some examples there. How do I form the comparative and superlative of these irregulars? Let's look at it. Bad is not going to be badder. We don't say it's badder or baddest. It's not grammatically correct. Bad, if it's comparing, it's worse, and if it's superlative more than 2, it's the worst. So worst. So like he's bad, that's the worst. That's worse than, he's worse than his brother. Or you could say he is the worst boy in the class. Good and well. Okay, so good or well can become better when being compared. This cake is better than this cookie. Or you can say this cake is the best dessert. Little when being compared is less. So I have fewer, oh, let's guess I'd say fewer eggs. That also works, fewer, you could say fewer eggs than apples, okay? And then the fewest, and it also works with less and least. So little, I have less eggs than I do, and I have the least amount of eggs of all the farms. Much and many changes to more and most. So I have more change than my friend. Or out of all my friends, I have the most change. As you continue, you'll practice using regular and irregular comparatives and superlatives. All right, fill in the blanks. Today, I woke up blank than usual so I could study for my math test. Remember the technique I taught you. Put both of them in. Today, I woke up earlier than usual. Might fit. Today, I woke up hardest than usual. No. Today, I woke up more prepared than usual. Maybe. Today, I woke up hardier than usual. Today, I woke up better than usual. Maybe. Today, I woke up best than usual. Probably not. Today, I woke up most concerned than usual. I still think earlier fits the best. Let's try it. Today, I woke up earlier than usual so I could study for my math test. I think that's the best fit. Today was going to be the blank one we had so far this year. All right, today is going to be the hardest. These are just going in order. Why do they just put them in order? Let's see if it is. Hardest one we had so far this year. So I needed to be more prepared than usual. I had a heartier breakfast than I usually do. So my mind had fuel for the test. After I took the test, I felt better than I thought I would. I'm hoping that I will get the best grade in the class since I am the most concerned of all my classmates. And then check it and see. I wish they would set up a little bit. And that's 6 out of 6, so now we're ready to go up here. Oh, why did I get 6 out of 7? Oh, no, there it went. 7 out of 7. I completed it. All right, that is the end of 1.05. So I hope that you found this helpful, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.